Okay, Julio, roll call, please.
Ms. Lofton.
Here.
Ms. Lofton is present. Mr. Siegel.
Present.
Mr. Siegel is present. Ms. Roy.
Here.
Ms. Roy is present. Mr. Gunter.
Yeah.
Mr. Gunter is present. Mr. Smith. Here. Mr. Smith is present. Mr. Malone. Mr. Malone is present. Mr. Sykes and Mr. Brooks.
Okay, the first order of business is to approve the meeting minutes of August 8th that are in your packet. Has everyone had a chance? And if so, is someone able to make a motion, please, to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Howard, second Paul, all in favor, say aye. Aye, any opposed? Okay, those minutes are approved. We'll now go on to bills and communications. There are two. Pretty much the same two we have every quarter, it seems. Jen, you want to reference those two payments?
Sure, so it's the quarter, excuse me, actually, this is an insurance reimbursement for the infrastructure LDC's portion of insurance policies. And then monthly administrative services payments to Unicap Inc. And then there's a new one to the Sullivan County Democrat, which is just a legal notice of this meeting. So we have three payments in the total amount of $8,521.73.
Does anyone have any questions or comments on the payments? If not, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Paul, Scott, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Okay, the payments are approved. We'll move into the quarterly financial report. Walter, Jen?
It's, no, I have no comments. Remember, this is always going to show gigantic negatives because there's upcoming revenue that comes in from others that flows through us that covers the delta between the assets, which are the infrastructure assets, the water sewer lines, the drainage at the former Concord
Yeah.
property, and the amount of the bonds, which originally were 110 million and now are paid down to around 104 million.
So is that the only transaction that runs through here?
The only
That's it.
transaction, and it's the only one that will ever run through here because a condition of the lender, or excuse me, a condition of the bond buyer was that this be a special purpose entity and not be involved in things like Sullivan County Community College Dormitory Corporation
Mhm,
and others. So it's a single purpose LLC.
Okay. Very good.
Speaking of the former property, what's the latest on the golf course?
They're up there building away. They've got a lot of yellow iron out there moving dirt around. You know,
This year?
they have their concrete poured for their maintenance building and they have their excavation done for their, I think they're calling it a comfort station. You've been up there, right?
Been up there, yeah.
And go ahead, you can.
No, it's underway. Doing the garage, hopefully the clubhouse is next.
They hired a management company to run the golf course, the same one that runs the one in Monroe, does a phenomenal job, and they've been advertising it down there.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I think they want to get the maintenance garage up and running, so that when they build the clubhouse there.
But Scott, aren't they doing the clubhouse now in the Adelar as opposed to?
Well, they're building what
Supposedly,
they're
yeah.
calling a comfort station,
Mhm,
which is where you would start your round of golf.
okay.
It needs-
Meaning it has a bathroom? I mean, that's what I would.
Well, because otherwise the Ally, you gotta drive 20 minutes.
Probably has a
right?
bathroom and a bar.
There's a bunch of golf clubs.
Well, they don't have a bar, they want to golf.
Right, exactly.
I play much better after the bars.
I think we should
Right, maybe the bar is first and then you go hit the bar. Okay, so we don't need a motion. This is just the quarterly financials. So the last thing we have is new business, a special assessment report for the year 2023 for the infrastructure project, which is starting on page 7 of your packet and goes to page 27. Does anyone want to summarize this? I mean, we've seen this every year.
What's important here is that Jen and I independently review it to make sure that it is rational. And as you know, in the past, we've caught some things that weren't.
Mhm.
But I think now all the kinks are out of this. The summary is 110,075,000 was the amount of the original bonds. They're gonna be paid back over 33 years, so when Mr. Vallone's grandchildren are on the IDA, they'll be still dealing with this.
Mhm.
You can see that they invested the funds, if you go to page 3, that are in the reserve accounts, and those are the interest
Returns.
rates that they received on investing the funds. And then the amount that's due on the bonds each year is no mystery. I mean, it's an amortization schedule, but where there is some annual reason to take a look at things is if you start at page, I believe it's 12. No, excuse me, it's 13 this year. You'll see that these are all of the parcels that are involved in the districts.
Mhm.
And the first one is the sewer district, for example, and the first parcel that's listed is the casino. And each special assessment dollar amount will be comprising part of the tax bill for each of these parcels in these amounts. And then the town, in addition to this, the operation and maintenance part of that same bill. And they'll get a bill. If you go to the casino, it says 428,000. They'll get a bill for 700 odd thousand, 428 for the capital, and 300 and some for operations and maintenance, just by way of example.
Okay.
The town does not allocate in the same way that we allocate.
Mhm.
They allocate based upon, for like water, how many chairs in a restaurant. So a restaurant would have more water allocated to it than, say, a gift shop with the
Right.
same assessed value.
Right.
But for our purposes, I've gone through this, the first pages, A1 and A2 are the parcels that are in the sewer district. A2 and A3 are the water district. You'll see there's a lot less parcels involved in the drainage district because it only relates to the parcels where there's drainage improvements. Same thing with the lighting district. It only relates to parcels where there's lighting along the road. And the same thing with the road district, which is only the parcels that front on the road. So having gone through it, I could not find anything that was out of line or irrational. So I would recommend the board approve it.
Okay. Thank you.
When it's approved,
Big words. Not gonna do that.
yeah. Well, yeah, this is, I have a gigantic Excel spreadsheet from 2016 with tabs for every year. And what happens with this is if you approve it, it then goes to the town of Thompson for them to include in their budget. We always send it, Jen has already sent it ahead of time.
Mhm. Jen, anything you want to add?
No, well, yes, one thing, which is just for the purposes of the record, the appendix B is the budget for the infrastructure LDC. And like the other two agencies, we have to file that budget by the end of this month. So if you approve the special assessment report, you'll be approving the budget as well.
Okay, so let's get a motion and we'll see if there's any question, comments. So can I have a motion to approve the report?
I'm moving.
Carol and Scott. Any further questions, discussion needed? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carries. We'll now move to public comment. No public comment. Okay, so can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Scott, second Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so I guess we'll turn that off and now go back to reopening the IDA meeting.